So, this is Jody Lemieux, your host to the Spiritually Aligned CEO podcast, and you're listening to Conversations with Jody, your one divine guidance system, giving your mindset and business a spiritual facelift by tapping into energy and gaining inspiration and up leveling your life by unleashing your infinite potential. And Karen Walker is beautifully explaining goal achieving, being messy in perfectionism, and what that looks like for her. And Karen, if you could just continue to share your story about what it really looks like as you're releasing your own podcast.
Yeah, I am so excited to release that podcast. And it's just really about y- the experience for me has been around this thing, because this thing has been on my heart. I don't want to say this thing like, that beautiful nagging that is just there's something on your heart, and the universe, God, source, it you just you're not going to be left alone until this is out in the world. And I've been battling with that. I say battling because I feel like sometimes it's a fight with myself. Um, on This has been in my heart like going on 5 years now. And so I started collaborating with different people, and it popped in my heart, and I'm like, I'm going to do this. And I started doing quick, Facebook interviews and things like that. And I allowed um, the number of views, or maybe better, the lack of views, to go, oh, okay, that imposter syndrome got the better of me. And I said, so I did about 3 or 4 interviews, maybe more than that. And then it was just, I'm not enough cropped up. I am not enough. There's not, people aren't really listening. Is it worth doing all the questions um, that came up for me through imposter syndrome, perfectionism, all those things all seem, in my experience, to be wrapped up together. They're all like fingers on the same hand. And so, but this thing would not leave me alone. And not only that, it was like, okay, yeah, you stepped out of your comfort zone for a bit, and you did, the interviews and that kind of thing. But now it's time to go even deeper. Do the podcast, it's like, oh Lord. And now my brain has gathered the evidence, to say, well, you tried it before, but it didn't work out. And yeah, it didn't work out because I quit. I stopped.
Oh, wow,
And
that's
so,
such a powerful message. And if you're recognizing Karen's voice right now, she was on my episode 14 back in March 14th, 2023. And so I had Karen coming back on because she has transformed right before my eyes. And you're going to hear this transformation. And she and I were just talking that transformation really isn't, it's, let me say what it is. Transformation is Karen's podcast title, Returning to Love,
yeah,
returning to who
coming
you
back to
truly
love.
are.
Yeah.
And she's really being honest right here of, I love your honesty, Karen, where you're sharing that stopping is what we call failure, because that's essentially what failure is. You're giving up. And if you give up, then that's actually your choice. But to continue to go on, that's even a greater mission. And
Mm.
look at you today. Like I'm
Yeah, that is so thank you so much for saying that. It means the world. I was having a shower this morning, and I thought about that exact same thing. Oh my gosh, it's going to be like over a year since I was on your podcast.
yeah.
And which, I've shared this with you, is like has inspired me. Like I said, it's been on my heart for about 4 to 5 years, and being on your podcast inspired me to go, yes, I can do this. I'm doing this. I'm not sure how that's going to look, but I'm going to step into courage and step into, like you said, messy, and we're just going to figure it out. We're just going to figure it out. And this recovering, uh, all the hackles on the back of my neck, like everything stood up, because this recovering perfection, that just didn't align with that perfection. So, what, you're going to step into messy? It needs to look perfect. But when I had that experience with the drawing in the group setting, that was when I changed the meaning, or transformed the meaning of perfectionism, or what perfect is. And it's like, perfect can absolutely be messy. Like, I've seen my kids. That's what I'm thinking of right now. I'm seeing my kids and my grandkids who have accomplished and done some things right before my eyes. Like, I have a little 2-year-old grandson, and um he has no clue what he's doing in a lot of cases. And it's just the most beautiful, inspiring, enlightening thing to watch.
Oh, I love that childlike play, childlike exploration, curiosity, just the love that comes off of a 2-year-old is incredible.
Right.
And if we can, like you're recognizing, just allow that love, the Return to Love podcast message that you're sending out there, which is incredible. Return to who you truly are is that returning to love message. Oh, it's so beautiful.
Yeah, thank you, Jody. That's what, and you know what? I received the name of the podcast like about 4 to 5 years ago too. So it wasn't this, it was like, it was in my own story. I could have chosen to move towards fear, shame, blame, and for many years I did. That was the choice I made. I did go in that direction. And so I got to ask myself a question, how do I choose to come back to love? And and then that was the question. And I was like, oh my gosh, coming back to love. It seems like everything, it's all little steps that happen. I'm like, that would be the perfect name for my podcast. So yeah, it had lots of transformative things have happened to me in the past year. And, both myself and my husband, and, I credit this beautiful experiential based learning journey that I have been on. And, I've been in this space for just over 10 years now, starting with my own um, wanting to be a coach. Well, actually, I wanted to be a counselor. What I realized was I would meet perfect strangers, sometimes, in whatever parties, settings, whatever. And I used to wonder, oh my gosh, like, I've known this person for 5 seconds and now they're telling me their whole life story. I used to be so freaked out about that. Like, what is that? Like, why are people doing that? Like, stay away. That's so weird. Until I realized, oh my gosh, that is my superpower. That is the thing. That's one of the gifts that I have been gifted. People just want to tell me their stuff. And the minute that I chose to embrace that, wow,
Wow.
that was when I found my own calling. Okay, I want to be a counselor. I think that's what I'm gonna. And then I had my mentor and boss at the time. She said, "Karen, you would be an amazing coach. Why don't you try that?" And at the time, I was coaching soccer, girls soccer. And so I was like, yeah, I am a coach. Like, I'm coaching soccer and stuff. She's like, well, yes, that is a coach, but that's not what I mean. And she started that. I mean, that's how naive I was. And this is just over 10 years ago. So it's relatively, just relatively recently, in the whole scheme of things. And so, yeah, I just thought, oh, okay, well, I'll try that. And my company was kind enough to pay for my coactive coaching, one of the modalities. And I was in there 10 minutes, and I was the one that they chose to say, you'll be the teacher in the moment, so to speak. You'll be the coach. And I was going through a divorce at the time, and it was so painful. But within 10 minutes, it was like, I've had this experience twice, and I've shared this before. I've had this experience twice, and this was the very first time where it felt like the heavens opened up and just light shone down on me, and angels sang, and like, this was my calling. And I knew that in that moment, and I've never stopped.
Oh, beautiful. So the people that are listening, if they're having this, as you said, this little nudge, this little pull for more, or, that little desire that was within you, and you just felt this, like you said, the heavens opened up and the angels were singing, like you just felt fully aligned with who you
Yes.
are, who you're truly meant to be. What would you say to somebody who's having a similar experience in this moment? What would your piece of advice be for them?
Run, run, don't walk, go for it, go for it. And that is where, you know, where life, capital L, life is. And, all the moments that I um, sat in, because I think that we know, right? There's a knowing in us. There's that still small voice in us that is like, I know that I'm meant to do this. And I went through years of depression, years of because I fought that. I chose against that, and I'll just do. And that saying, we're not human doings, we're human beings. And that still small voice is calling us to fully express our beingness. And I get to choose in any given moment what that beingness is. And yeah, so I would say, do it, get it done, because and like, if you allow the head to get involved, um, you start asking a whole bunch of questions. Well, where's the money coming from, and where's this, and how am I going to do this? And I would say to you, the how is none of your business. You get to look at the vision and keep your eyes on that. And that beingness that I chose to step into was messy. And in this particular case, sometimes I choose the beingness of courage. Sometimes I choose the beingness of love. Whatever that is, and maybe it's multiple,
Mm, yeah.
you get to choose, and the how will just naturally come.
Oh, that's such an encouraging word right there. Oh my goodness. Because it's such a beautiful thing when you release and you let go, like you
Wow.
said, just fully embrace it, because life is just so beautiful on the other side of that.
Right. Right.
And
And I think you're touching on something that I feel that is um, a big kind of exclamation point for me in this last year, is this: I gave up the expectation of what I think it should look like. And there's two things there. I just gave up the expectations. That's one. And then giving up, or releasing, not even, I released what I thought it should look like. And that made room for all the possibilities of what it could look like. So I was getting stuck in my head about, well, it has to look like this. For 4 to 5 years, my podcast had to look like this. It had to be filmed with this camera. I had to have this mic. I had to have this lighting. I had to have this studio. If I didn't have those things, then I couldn't move forward. And I realized it doesn't have to look anything like that. my message is getting out there. The beautiful guests, their message is getting out there, and it looks so beautiful. It looks nothing like what I thought, and it's beautiful.
I love the way you said that. I'm not sure if these listeners who are listening right now heard that. That little word and. You have emphasized that word, emphasized it so much that I want people to hear that. You can have this and.
And yeah.
There's such big there's such power behind that word and.
Mm-hmm.
It's
I made a choice. I think that is the case for me. And I made a choice in this past year to replace all the buts with ands. No more buts. I want no more buts. Replace all the buts with ands. And that's probably, Jody, the second piece of, my coming back to love. I have so many coming back to is giving up that. Well, I don't, you know what? I don't even want to say giving up, because I'm not. I'm just choosing differently, Um, yeah, choosing differently. And now, I am, I've lost, totally lost my thought, but that's okay. Maybe that's exactly what the listener needed to hear.
yes. So, Karen, for those that are listening and they're looking for you on social media, how can they find you?
Oh, great. Thank you. The KLW project, the KLW project group.com is my website, and all the social medias is the KLW project. Still deciding whether, we're going to have a Coming Back to Love website or a Coming Back to Love Instagram, or still deciding all that, because it's really, Coming Back to Love is a part of the KLW project, which is my initials. And it is about, building. I'm all about building and rebuilding lives, and including my own, starting with my own. And it's through my own experiences that I'm able to empathize, sympathize, coach others, whatever that happens to be. I'm a big believer that um, transformation and those coming back to love moments start with me.
Mm.
And I feel like we can recognize in each other our greatness. Like, Jody, I look at you and I'm just like, wow. This bright light that shines into this world. I recognize your greatness. Um, it just is oozing. And I get to recognize that I'm recognizing that in you because it's in me.
Yes. Such a powerful message. If those of you listening hear what Karen is saying, is when you recognize greatness in someone else, it's a mirror reflection of you. You're seeing your
Yes.
own greatness mirrored in somebody else. Ah,
Absolutely.
so powerful.
Absolutely. It's powerful. And it's also powerful to think, when I see things that I don't necessarily love, that I'm also seeing that because I have it in me too. And sometimes we don't want to talk about that side of it, but it's so important, because I'm realizing how, even in those moments, it doesn't have to be, oh, I see your greatness, so that's positive, in air quotes. I see the things that I don't love so much, so that must be negative. It isn't. That's just a construct. We get to choose what that is. When I see those things, or when I am triggered, I know that's such a big word in our society today, but when I'm triggered or when I see those things, there's beauty in that too. I get to realize, oh, okay, I get to heal that piece of me too. And then there's a level of compassion that I have for others, because I recognize those things that I'd love to um, continue to transform in myself. So I'm thankful for those people. I'm thankful for the ones that triggered. No, do I like being triggered? I do not. It's not fun. Um, but I'm so grateful and I'm so thankful for it because I get to find other areas to heal.
Karen, I just recognize something in you that I do when I recognize something that, may quote unquote trigger me,
Yeah.
laughter.
Yeah.
That's what I recognized in you. And don't take ourselves so seriously. Bring laughter to those moments. And when I've done that, Karen, I'm not sure if you've experienced this, it brings lightness to it. It brings a sense of forgiveness, a coming to love
Yeah.
in that moment. It's an embrace of self, lowercase self. I've heard somebody say this in uppercase self. I love that terminology. It's just, gently reminding yourself of, okay, this is the way you are in this moment. It's not who you truly are.
Right.
So embracing the love. Ah,
Thanks. Thanks for saying that. Yeah, I do. I kind of laugh a lot because I didn't realize, gosh, I'm so human. Isn't that a beautiful thing to be? I laugh a lot for that reason. And, I do my best. I said, said earlier that, I was thinking about different things in the shower. I do my best thinking in the shower. And I also get to be easy on myself around I also recognize, to be completely honest, there's sometimes where I'm so uncomfortable that I use laughing to break the tension. And when I get to recognize that too and go, when I'm not grounded and centered, I tend to do maybe a sarcastic remark or and oh, but that it's just funny, right? And so I got to kind of differentiate in this past year what that is, and to be able to laugh at myself because I'm human, and also be able to um, feel my emotions instead of using an offhanded joke or or whatever, or the laughter to um, almost hide or run away from feeling the feelings. So it's great that you bring that up, and I love sharing both sides of the coin because we it's like I said, it's sometimes it's the different sides of each hand of the same hand.